I imagine that once you participate in a FIDE rated tournament, you would get a FIDE rating based on the performance. So that's how things should work, right? But it turns out that's not how things work, and I was wrong. More about this later in the video. In my case, the tournament fees was 1,500 rupees, and I was also charged another 45 rupees because the payment gateway fees, right? Since you're doing it online. Now that I've registered to a FIDE rated tournament, I need to start looking for a place to stay because this was a 4-day tournament. This is where I made my second mistake. Since I had no experience on how to book an hotel, the first instinct that came to mind was to use a hotel booking service like OYO. But here's the thing. It is almost difficult to find a decent hotel, and it's almost impossible to find a hotel that is near the venue. So you might want to spend a little bit on this if you want a comfortable stay. And you definitely need a good night's rest if you want to play your best. Also, if you're staying somewhere far, then you would be spending a lot on the travel. So that would be the cost of using services like Rapido or Uber. So make sure that you choose a wise option when it comes to your stay, because that's going to ultimately cost you a lot, or it's going to, I finally booked an hotel that was 11 kilometers from the venue, and it costed me almost 3,700 for 4 nights, which I think is pretty decent considering that I didn't have many options. I would highly recommend you to check the tournament venue a day before. The first day of the tournament, I reached the venue and the place was incredible. They had a huge auditorium that was filled with chessboards, and almost there were 600 participants in that auditorium. I had no idea what to do next, but then there was this one guy who came up to me and started talking with me, and since we both were alone, we kept each other company for the rest of the tournament. He gave me some insights on what to expect during the tournament, and I learned that there was this website called chessresults.com, which is the website that you go to look up who your opponent is, as the pairings are displayed on this website. I asked him on how to get a FIDE rating, and he explained me the process. He explained that in an open tournament, both rated and unrated players compete. And in order for an unrated player to get a rating, they should play against at least 5 rated players and score 1.5 points from those 5 matches. So my objective was clear. For this tournament, I need to compete against at least 5 rated players and score 1.5 points to get my FIDE rating, right? But here's the problem. See, it's not like I get to choose who I can play against, right? Also, the other thing is that you would have to write your moves in a score sheet, and this would be submitted after the end of the match, as the arbiter needs to verify the results. So, an heads up, you would have to write your score sheet, and if you don't know how to write a score sheet like me, then you would have to learn it, right? The time limit for the game was 90 plus 30, which means that each player gets a total of 90 minutes to play, and then an additional 30 seconds is added for every move that is played. So this means technically the game would go as long as it could, so you might need to play longer games. So be prepared. For my first match, I got paired as black to a player with a rating of 1059, and it was a 10-year-old kid. You know what happened? I got completely thrashed. I completely lost my confidence after the match. The next match, I got paired as white to an unrated player. This time, I was able to win the match. I was able to win this match as my opponent made a blunder very early in the game due to the way I set my pieces. After the match, we discussed about the game and quickly became friends. After the second match, I understood the pattern of pairing, as you will always get paired with a person of the same points that you have and switch colors based on the previous match. It is really important that you don't lose 2 matches in a row, as the chances of you getting to play a rated player in the next one drastically reduces. The second day, I had the same experience. I lost the third match to a rated player with a rating of 1018 and won the fourth match against an unrated player. So far, out of 4 rounds, I was able to secure 2 points and have not won against a single rated player. On the third day, I would have lost to a kid with a rating of 1033 and almost gave up feeling frustrated. But I didn't resign. I kept on playing, and in the end, I got to a position where it was either forced stalemate or I was able to win. So in the end, my opponent had to settle for a draw. I couldn't really believe it, as I was finally able to draw against a rated player. And since I was able to draw this match, My next opponent was also a rated player with a rating of 1029. I really wanted to win this match as this is the first time that I was paired as white against a rated player. Everything was perfect for me, but in the end, I made a small blunder which costed me the game. I felt like giving up as the chances of me facing another rated player is very low because of this loss. Due to this loss, my next opponent would be an unrated player and I would definitely have to win that round in order to even have the slightest chance of facing a rated player for my final round. With only 2 rounds to go and stakes so high, I was really nervous. I wasn't sure whether I would be able to win the 7th round and I wasn't even sure if I would be able to get a rated player even if I win my 7th round. Fortunately, I was able to win the 7th match. With just 3.5 points out of 7, I wasn't sure if I would be able to meet a rated player for my final round. And to make things even worse, the pairing list is only displayed 30 minutes before each match. So I had my lunch and after that I found out that my opponent was a girl with a rating of 1013. I still haven't won against a single rated player so far, which means I need to be very careful for my final round. If I lose this match, I would have to end up waiting another tournament to get my rating. I carefully analyzed each and every move that I made during my final round and my opponent did the same as well. The match lasted for almost 3.5 hours. We had exactly the same pieces and were at our end game, and I felt that this would end up as a draw. But in the end, my opponent made a single mistake which costed her a rook, and I couldn't believe it. I took the free piece and had a winning position. I thought after this she would resign, but you know what? She didn't give up. She kept on fighting with just 1 knight and 3 pawns. In the end, with just 12 minutes left on our clock, I was finally able to secure the win. I was able to win 1.5 points against 5 rated players and had an overall score of 4.5 points out of 8, which gave me a rank of 212 out of 536 participants. I was happy thinking that I would get my FIDE rating, and when I reached home, I looked up on how long it would take for me to get a FIDE rating, and it turns out that I only needed half points against 5 rated players. So I guess the last match was an unnecessary drama, but I really did enjoy the last game. So now that everything is over, I can finally say that I'm a FIDE rated chess player.